Good evening, grade 10 syllabus, CAPS curriculum for South Africa home language. Term 1 poetry, there are a total of 3 poems, so there are going to be 3 videos, the first of which is Reapers in a Mielie Field. These are the poems that I selected from the list for my children at the school that I teach. Hopefully, if there's anybody else watching this, perhaps maybe your teachers were lucky enough to choose the same poems. Obviously, due to COVID-19 and the lockdown, the content of the paper 2 has been greatly reduced, even so far as choosing between either the novel or the Shakespeare play. So I will continue with Reapers in a Mielie Field, just a basic explanation of what is going on. You will notice on the other side of the video, the right-hand side, it is very text heavy with questions 1.1 to 1.10. I try to ask my children as much as I possibly can, including figures of speech, comprehension questions, effectiveness, etc. So hopefully this is of some use to children from other schools, but it is mainly for my own students. Okay, so going to do a read through and then I will do an explanation. Reapers in a Mielie Field. Faces furrowed and wet with sweat, bags tied to their wasp waists. Women reapers bend mielie stalks, break cobs in rustling sheaths, toss them in the bags and move through row upon row of maize. Behind them, like a desert tanker, a dust-raising tractor pulls a trailer, driven by a pipe-puffing man flashing tobacco-stained teeth, as yellow as the harvested grain. He stops to pick up bags loaded by thick-limbed labourers in vests baked brown with dust. The sun lashes the workers with a red-hot rod. They stop for a while to wipe a brine-bathed brow and drink from the battered cans bubbling with malty mchiel. Thirst is slacked in seconds. Men jerk bags like feather cushions and women become prancing wild mares. Soon the day's work will be done and the reapers will rest in their kraals. You'll notice that Oswald Mtshali, 17th January 1940, it doesn't include a year that he died because he is still alive. You will notice that I've used red, yellow, orange, very warm colors, and the whole point of that is because the reader needs to understand the heat, the toil, the hard work that is going into what these people are doing. So obviously we know that this is during a time where technology was lacking, at least in terms of combine harvesters, machines that reap large amounts of corn and grain, cotton, etc., etc. You do almost get a sense that if this isn't South Africa, then it definitely is somewhere in Africa, using the people to do the harvesting, people pulling a trailer in order to collect the bags of grain that have been harvested. And obviously, Oswald Mtshali definitely gives it away that it is indeed set in Africa. So you will notice, first of all, if you look to the right of the line numbering, so 1, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, to the right-hand side of the line numbering, you will see alliteration, metaphor, simile, alliteration, simile, personification, and so on and so forth. So what is the point of that? Why is the poet using so many comparisons? Because remember, metaphor, simile, and personification are grouped together under comparisons. The person is trying to make you see something. So first of all, I see a simile as describing a part of a whole. She looks like something. He sings like something else. It's very, very specific. Looking, singing, running, walking, dancing, climbing, it's very specific. Whereas if you look at a metaphor, it's more of a direct comparison. There is no like and as, and you are looking at the whole. She is this, he is that. Okay, it's looking at the whole entire person. And obviously, when you're doing those comparisons, but it's human qualities on an inanimate object or an abstract idea or a concept or a thought or an ideology, that is when we call it personification. We are making a person out of the thing, if you want to look at it that way. Then we also have the alliteration. Now remember, alliteration, assonance, and onomatopoeia are sound devices. They want you to focus on the sound. So onomatopoeia is going to mimic what a sound is. If you had to drop a vase, a glass, a drums and a cymbal down a cliff, okay, that bottom tss, all right, usually used when somebody has told a really, really bad joke. But the point is that badam tss is supposed to mimic the sound of that object. Then you have assonance, which is a repetition of a vowel sound. Now, it's not repeating A, E, I, O, U. Sometimes the sound is different. You've got I as in E-Y-E, okay? So it's not a repetition of the and the y, it's I sound. Some of them might be E or R or P or well, not per so much, that's a plosive, that's actually a consonant, but you get the idea. Alliteration is the consonants, all right? So f, s, k, t, d, those kinds of sounds, all right? And usually the type of sound that it is mimicking something in the description. So faces furrowed, it's a soft sound, all right? It's not going to be very, very loud. And it's quite a slow sound, if I can call it that. So faces furrowed. This isn't just something quick, okay? This isn't a quick burst of energy, a quick frown, okay? These people are concentrating. This is hard work that they're doing. It's a lot of toil, and they are struggling with it. It's in the heat of the day. Only later on in the poem do we see that they actually have a rest. So you've got this idea of, they're concentrating, they're working hard. Perhaps maybe the only sound that you can hear is the rustling of the corn as it's put into bags. We've then got wasp waists, okay, very, very thin waists. There is also wet with sweat, that repetition of the eh sound, okay? Obviously the wasp waist, you've got the repetition of the wa sound. Then you've got a simile, like a desert tanker, okay? So it's comparing the tractor and trailer to a really, really large vehicle that's moving through the desert. And obviously we're assuming it's a desert because it says desert, and also the grain is yellow. Yellow grain, yellow desert. A pipe puffing man. Okay, so this man is smoking on a pipe. We don't see that very often in today's culture. Most people have cigarettes, cigars, or vape. But a pipe puffing man, okay, that repetition of the p sound, it's plosive. It's like a puff of smoke, okay? Flashing tobacco stained teeth as yellow as the harvested grain. So yeah, we have a simile. Okay, so just like the grain is yellow, his teeth are yellow. Because remember, it's the nicotine. It makes your fingertips yellow, it makes your teeth yellow. He stops to pick up the bags by thick-limbed labourers, and their vests are baked brown with dust. So they're sweating, the dust is settling on that sweat, but it's so hot that it's almost making this thin cover of, you can't even call it mud because it's dry. So imagine if you were very, very small, or you've got younger siblings, nephews, nieces, and they're playing with mud and they're running around and it's a hot day and it cakes on them, it dries, okay? It's almost like you can peel it off, all right? Baked brown with dust. Sun lashes the workers with a red hot rod, personification. The sun is being compared to somebody who is using a um, thin, long piece of wood in order to beat someone. Then you've got a brine bathed brow, so you've got alliteration of the B sound, repetition of the B sound. Brine bathed brow. Again, it's working together with the faces furrowed, all right? So it's almost like the sweat is bathing their forehead. Drink from a battered can, bubbling with multi mahu, okay? So your sour milk. So obviously in the shops you've got those yellow and white cartons with the brown logo of the potjie pot, okay, that sour milk. Thirst is slacked in seconds. So slacked means quenched. Okay, so if you quench your thirst, you satisfy your thirst, it's slacked. So obviously drinking this sour milk has given them some kind of renewed energy. And they jerk the bags as though they were feather cushions. So feathers are obviously very light, and if you've got a feather pillow, it can be quite a light pillow, depending on how densely packed the feathers are. But they almost jerk them. It's like no effort at all. And the women become prancing wild mares. Now a mare is a female horse. A wild female horse, there's no boundaries. They're going to jump, they're going to gallop, they're going to prance around. To prance means to jump in a lively manner. So if you think of people who are dancing on stage, you could almost say that they are prancing. So that is a metaphor. So they are re-energized. And then soon the work will be done and the reapers will rest in their kraal. So again, kraal, okay, very, very South African word. So that's how we know the setting. And those are, you know, the huts and the fences that are put together in a circular fashion. And then they're going to sleep, and obviously the harvesting isn't done, so they're going to carry on. So I've just written there on the bottom in orange, hard work, long day, very hot. And why do we have the lots of comparison? Because we need to clearly picture it. Remember, if they ask you what is the effectiveness, okay, you'll notice in the questions and the answers, effectiveness is purpose. Does it fulfill its purpose? So if you take a kettle and the kettle doesn't boil the water, it's not effective. It's not fulfilling its purpose. What is the purpose of comparison? To give the reader a clear image of what is happening. And then obviously you need to tell us in your answers, what is it that is actually happening. You will notice in a lot of the answers, I've put answers in inverted commas. Remember, if they ask you to quote something, no quotation marks, no answers. If I am quoting from something in order to explain it later, needs to have quotation marks. You will see repetition of the B sound. I want you to see the B as separate, so I put it in quotation marks. And my cat is now jumping up and down on the piano. Sorry about that. She gets very, very excited when things are happening. She wants to be a part of everything, which can be quite irritating. And obviously, as a cat, you can't exactly lock them up like a dog. And now she's got her back towards me. You will notice the short paragraph question, and this is what I'll end with. The short paragraph question was there to prepare my students to write a poetry essay. So a poetry essay is one of the options that you'll come across in your paper 2. You might not be doing it for this exam, but definitely, next year for grade 11s, for grade 12s, you'll have your 3 scene poems. 2 of them will have contextual questions like you see in the paper, so 1.1 to 1.9. But then you'll get an option for the 3rd scene poem to actually do a poetry essay. And what they focus on is the themes. the tone, and the imagery. Those are usually the three main things that they will ask you about. How does the tone, how is it informed by the imagery? Okay, so if we look at all the images, how does that give us a tone? Quote and explain examples from the text to match the theme. So there you're going to have to look at specific things that have to do with the theme of the poem. All right, so we're here at 15 minutes and counting. I think I'm going to stop it there. Feel free to type things in the comment section if you want additional help. And then the other two videos are going to be soccer career style, and the third one is the right word. Thank you very much.